I'm going to talk about books that didn't quite meet my expectations. Maybe I picked it up because it was super hyped or it was super popular, but some things about it really let me down. These are my opinions. You may feel differently. That's fine. The whole objective of YouTube is that we have a diversity of bookish opinions. So let's hop to it. By the way, I don't have many of these books with me. Seeing as these are disappointing books, I gave them all away. The first book I'm going to talk about is Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. It was not really written by J.K. Rowling. As you may know, it was marketed as the 8th story of the series, and it's written as a play, and it deals with Harry, Ron, and Hermione's children as they're going to Hogwarts. I kind of anticipated my disappointment. There was already a lot of negativity before I started reading it, but I was not spoiled. I went in cold. I do appreciate that the play tried to address some of the elements that were not fully developed in the series, like time turners and such, but really what makes the Harry Potter universe good is that there are amazing characters. This is probably a common complaint, but I really didn't like how the characters of Harry, Ron, and Hermione came across in this play. They felt like fanfiction renderings of those 3 characters. I'm really tired of Ron being put aside as comic relief. I know that in the movies, Ron is comic relief, but in the books, he and Harry have this amazing, rich friendship. Whenever Harry and Ron are having a fight, Harry tends to go with Hermione, but he always misses Ron because it's not the same. Ron gets Harry in ways that Hermione does not. And apart from that, the story was okay. I found it a little bit weak. It was very plot holy. Maybe if I saw it on stage, it'd be a different experience for me, but overall I was disappointed. I don't think I'm alone in this. Next is Journey to the Center of the Earth by Jules Verne. Of course, he was a pioneer in sci-fi in the 1800s, so I get why it was so innovative in the time that it was written. But you know that old movie that was maybe really innovative at the time that it was made but has aged really badly and just doesn't look good next to other movies? That's Journey to the Center of the Earth. The primary flaw of the book was that we had some characters who made some seriously questionable and uneducated decisions. If I were a professor who wanted to go to the center of the earth, I would probably choose a team of 8 people who actually enjoy spelunking for 8 months at a time. I would probably not have a team of 2. One of them would not be my very anxious nephew who doesn't really want to go outside. I mean, the narrator of this story is this professor's nephew, and the whole time he's just scared out of his mind. There were some cool moments, but overall this book didn't wow me as much as I expected. Next up was one that really let me down. It's Soulless by Gail Carriger. Let's get something straight here. I love steampunk. I love anything steampunk. If someone tells me to read this book, it's steampunk, I will probably read it. So I was told that if you want to read steampunk, read Soulless. It's the perfect steampunk series. It's everything you would ever want in a steampunk novel. I got Soulless on Audible and I read it. It's not so much a steampunk novel. It's a genre romance novel with some steampunk elements thrown in. I get how it can be a fun series, but this is just erroneous marketing. It should have sold itself as a genre romance with a little bit of fantasy and steampunk. The story was centered around the romance and not really about these evil mad scientist happenings going on in the city. Anyway, I finished this book and I felt so lied to. I felt just so utterly deceived by the marketing of this book. So if you want a genre romance with a little fantasy, this is the book for you. It's not for, say, someone who's looking for a true steampunk novel. The next book is A Fire and Stars by Audrey Coulthurst. It's about this princess who's betrothed to marry a prince of another neighboring kingdom, and instead she falls for the sister of the prince. I guess it was kind of innovative because same-sex relationships are considered a norm in this fantasy universe. And the romance in the story was pretty well paced. It was well developed, actually kind of moving, but the fantasy elements of the story were so incredibly underdeveloped. The magic system was just some lame elemental magic. I felt like I was having a lot of names thrown at me, but none of them had enough context for me that I could make sense of them. So when the main character in the story is talking about, oh, well, I miss my life back in so-and-so kingdom, I'm just like, well, I don't care. So I found the story really weak and the world building really weak. Its sole selling point was that it was a lesbian romance, which I'm totally down with, but if you want to have a fantasy setting, you need to do the the world building right. So I've been disappointed with several graphic novels this year, and one of them is Fight Club 2. So Chuck Palahniuk's Fight Club is a masterful novel. It is a work of genius, and the movie might be a little bit better, but then he decided to release a sequel to Fight Club in graphic novel form. And as is the flaw with many graphic novels, the art is great, the story not so much. I found that the story was trying to play on several elements from the original story. There were references to some of Chuck Palahniuk's other novels as well, which I found super clever. But overall, I think it was just trying too hard to be meta. Personally, I'm just okay with the original Fight Club and the movie. Like, did it really need a sequel? Finally, I'm gonna talk about The Upside of Unrequited by Becky Albertalli. I wanted to like this book. I really wanted to like this book. I've been reading a lot of dark fiction, and I decided I wanted to read a brighter story, something that would lift my mood. The story is about this girl called Molly Peskin-Suso, who is overweight. She hasn't really got a lot of faith in her abilities to get a boyfriend, but she's had a lot of crushes. She has a twin sister who gets this awesome girlfriend, and that new girlfriend introduces Molly to this guy called Will, who's like potentially a perfect hipster boyfriend. But then she gets this job on the side. She meets this geeky guy called Reed, and Reed has all sorts of nerdy interests. He's a big Tolkien fan, which is great. I was just really disappointed in how thin this story was and how underdeveloped a lot of the characters were. I mean, this book really takes a stab at having a very diverse cast. Molly has 2 lesbian parents, and one of them is black. Her twin sister's girlfriend is Asian, and their whole family is Jewish. I can get behind diversity. I can get behind an incredibly diverse cast, but you have to develop all of those characters. They can't just check off different diversity boxes. They actually have to be good characters. I ended up not caring for many of the characters because I didn't know much about them aside from their demographic. And the plot as a whole just felt really thin. Basically, the whole story is Molly wanting to have a boyfriend and having lots of crushes. I was like, really? That's the whole story? And now I liked certain things that this book was trying to say. Sometimes Molly's sister wants to push her into certain romantic situations that she's kind of iffy about. It's kind of saying that even if a relationship looks good on paper, it doesn't always mean it's going to work. Sometimes the perfect romantic partner for you isn't always the most obvious choice. I really did want to like this book. It was really hyped up. I really wanted to like it, but it really fell short for me. I'm really tired of the trope of the virgin whose mission in the story is to basically find a boyfriend. So that was my list of disappointing books. You are welcome to tell me what books disappointed you. If you disagreed with any of my opinions, you're welcome to tell me as well. In the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter and Goodreads, and I will see you in my next video.